Hey everyone! Since taking office in January, President Trump has been moving at warp speed. So far, in less than 5 months, he's issued 161 executive orders. To put that in perspective, President Trump issued a total of 220 executive orders in his entire 4-year first term in office. And the policy that has created the most uncertainty and financial market volatility, of course, are the tariffs. Since the Liberation Day tariffs were announced in April, there's been a lot of speculation that the tariffs would increase inflation and slow the US economy. There's also been a lot of discussion about how the uncertainty created by the tariffs could slow the employment market. And in the last couple weeks, we've gotten both the May employment numbers and the inflation metrics. Many economists expected to see a slowdown in hiring and an uptick in inflation, but these haven't materialized yet. A lot of people are wondering about the disconnect. Why aren't we seeing signs of a slowdown in hiring? Why aren't we seeing inflation show up in the reports? And the answer, in my opinion, is that these types of shifts take several months to materialize in behavior changes and for the economic metrics to capture them. I need to say that structurally, the economy remains sound. Over the last 3 months, the US has added an average of 135,000 jobs per month. The unemployment rate has been 4.2% for 3 months straight. Retail sales have continued to grow at a modest pace, and headline inflation has been pretty stable at about 2.4% over the last 3 months. But that data is all backward looking, and while the Trump administration has been moving very quickly, it takes time for these changes to work their way through the system. With regard to inflation specifically, we have to remember that many companies front-loaded their orders to bring as much inventory into the country as they could before the tariffs went into effect. Companies stacked their warehouses with products with pre-tariff pricing so they wouldn't have to pass the tariffs on to their customers, at least not right away. But if the tariffs remain in place, and I have to remind everyone that the tariff policies could change at any time, but if they remain in place, the higher prices will likely begin to slowly enter the market. If you look at the headline numbers, inflation barely moved. And even when you drill down under the surface, the month-over-month change in prices are minimal. The price of energy and apparel actually went down a little bit in May compared to April. At the same time, the cost of food, shelter, and medical care went up a little bit. But you have to dig really deep to find a smoking gun sign of inflation. Since April, the cost of audio equipment has gone up by about 10%. And last month, the cost of major appliances increased by 4.3%. But the inflationary impact of the tariffs for most things have yet to materialize. Last month, Walmart's CFO said that consumers would start to see prices begin to reflect the new tariffs in late May or June. So we're not really seeing the impact on the May inflation report. And even the June report, which will be released in July, may not fully reflect the impact of tariffs. It'll take time for the true effects to materialize, and that's why the Federal Reserve is holding rates flat. So far, all the metrics look fine, but the risks are still out there. So, from a commercial real estate standpoint, what's all this mean? Basically, like the Federal Reserve, we're in a wait-and-see mode from an economic standpoint. But from an investment standpoint, I still believe that investors who take action today will be happy they didn't wait. Assuming there are no huge changes in the tariff policy, I believe the most significant short-term factor for investors will be interest rates. And I only see 2 things that could cause rates to fall: a short-term flight to safety from stocks into bonds due to a significant economic shock, or a full-fledged recession while inflation is still low. If we enter a recession while inflation is rising, I think the Fed would likely keep rates elevated. So as a result, both buyers and sellers who are serious about taking action may be well served to act sooner rather than later. If interest rates rise, it will just make getting a deal done that much more difficult. That said, I still believe the long-term performance outlook for commercial real estate remains positive. We may see some short-term choppiness driven by a variety of economic forces or even a recession. But fundamentally, supply risks are diminishing while demand drivers remain sound. And that's the key. That's the opportunity investors need to consider, the long-term drivers. That's why investors always need to keep their eyes on the horizon.